Welcome to the Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Sampson, and on this show we discuss so many of the issues facing boomers, their parents, and what we know is an aging population today, which, of course, I'm part of. And I want to just remind everybody that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, a professional senior placement and elder care management organization that has a national network of advisors to help in determining the right path for senior living and receiving proper care. So whether it's in-home care, assisted living, residential, or memory care, get the necessary advice from a senior care advisor in your area by calling Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or you could go directly to the website at seniorcareauthority.com. And we have with us today Sheila Malkind. Sheila, did I pronounce your last name correctly? Malkind?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, great. And Sheila has worked in the field of aging for 50 years, from working at the Chicago Mayor's Office for Senior Citizens and Handicapped and the American Medical Association. She was also director of Silver Images Film Festival and then started Legacy Film Series, a company distributing and renting short, entertaining films on aging, along with the involvement of the first International Film Festival on Aging. And Sheila, it's just an honor to have you on the Aging Boomers. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Frank. I'd love to have the opportunity to talk about one of my favorite subjects, aging. So ask away.
All right, let's do it. So let's go right into that term, aging. All right, I was just at a conference on aging myself down in Southern California, and when that term seniors or elders, or, we talk about, all the terms that we're used to. There are some that, kind of say, I don't like to hear that term. I'm not getting old. I'm not old. All right, I don't feel myself old. What's your thoughts on all of that?
Well, that's also one of my favorite subjects, and I've written about it because I think there are certain terms that people don't like to hear. One of them is elderly. Elderly seems to many people to connote frailty, and I guess it also means helplessness. And especially we Americans, we are so independent and value our independence that we don't want to be dependent on anyone else. But sometimes it happens. But I think it's difficult to find the right word, because some people say seniors, others say older adults. I use them interchangeably because they're just terms, and it doesn't matter to me which ones that people use. We are getting older, and I'll tell you an interesting story. Somewhere along the line, when we had started maybe the first or second year of the festival, we asked somebody from another film festival, not on aging, but a successful one, to come and give us some advice. And she looked at our brochure, which we had just published with all the films we were going to show, and she pointed to the word aging, because it's Legacy Film Festival on Aging. And she said, take that word off there. And she said, that's not a word that people will relate to. And I was amused, actually. I was a little shocked, but I was also amused to think that the raison d'etre, the reason for our being, was to actually celebrate aging and to deal with the issues of aging. And it's something we're not ashamed of. I think what's happening is because we have a greater population of older people, and I'll give you a couple of statistics, people are becoming more accepting. There's so many reasons why people, I think, are not accepting of aging. We're closer to death, for one thing. Maybe that's part of it. Mm-hmm. And the images in the media of older people have been actually negative or non-existent. And so people feed into that. Oh, old means I'm an old grouch, which seems to be something that is stereotyped for men in particular, an old grump. And for women, it's just, we've lost our sexuality or our beauty, and we're seen as invisible. So I think that's one of the reasons that people have been afraid of aging.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the work?
I'll
there
tell
one
you,
that you like or don't like?
I like it. I'm just talking personally. I know everybody has different opinions. I'm at an age that I'm still considering myself young, but I'm getting there to where I'm considered senior status. But I feel I have outlived some of my friends and family. I lived at an older age than they did, so I consider myself pretty lucky. So every year that goes by, I just consider myself pretty lucky. So
well, the statistics show, because of all the advances in healthcare,
right.
And infant mortality has gone down in the last century, and even other kinds of health problems, that every day in the USA now, 10,000 people turn 65.
Right.
And in a single century, from 1900 to 2000, nearly 30 years were added to the average life expectancy. So when you say that you've survived and you feel good about it, yes. And I think that's something that people have to realize and actually celebrate. Now, that doesn't mean one of the statistics shows that there's more chronic problems. We may not be dying from health disease. That's certainly gone down. But there are other problems as we age. And some of them are losses, either losses of spouse or friends. I have a 90-year-old friend, and she said a lot of her friends are gone. And so that makes me think that and this is one of the reasons we do the festival, that we have to continue to find ways to make life meaningful for ourselves. And some of the ways may be to make young friends. And that's really why we use the word legacy film festival on aging, because we think as we get older, we have things to teach maybe younger people or even the boomers who are coming up. And of course, we always want to learn from younger people too. And one of the ways, and I'm laughing thinking about it, is tech. And that's been a difficult thing in some ways for me, because I think I'm pretty savvy on the computer, but when it comes to some of what I'll call newfangled stuff like Twitter, I give up. I know I shouldn't, but
you know what?
But
so what? I mean, you have so much wisdom in so many other ways that you and others can bring. And I think that the younger people, and some do, and maybe some don't, but they need to respect that, hey, you may not be, Miss Twitter or Facebook or whatever, but so what? You have so much, so much great wisdom. And I think it's great what you're doing with the film festival. I'd love to learn more of kind of what went into that, and I use this show as a way to help educate people on aging and on some of the challenges that adult children are faced with maybe parents or other loved ones that maybe need care, and we do put an emphasis on that. But you've seemed to be using the films as a way to help educate. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, we have a mission, and we have a mission statement, and it is to educate, entertain, and inspire intergenerational audiences about the issues of aging. And I think one of the ways, and it's actually an entertaining way, is to show aging through film. Now, we are not doing films which are important, such as eating problems in a nursing home, where that's not the kind of film we show. We search for films all over the world, actually, that fulfill the mission. So they have to entertain. They can't be so negative that people are sitting there crying. Although some of the films they are bittersweet at times, and there are films that we show, one of which is called Close Harmony. It's a film from 1981. It was an Academy Award documentary. Every time I see it, I've seen it 25 times, I still tear up because it's so beautiful. It's about a chorus of senior citizens and fourth graders who are both learning a certain song separately. And the kids are asked, what do you think about older people? And a lot of them have very negative attitudes. The kids who don't have grown up with grandparents, probably. But right. In the process of when they get together and learn about each other, there is such a moving feeling that you can't help but tear up seeing how many of the stereotypes about each other dissolve. They form a really important bond. That's one film. But really the films we show are, for instance, we have a film from Iceland this year, which is a 15-minute film, and it's so funny. It's a fictional film about two bachelors who have been very close friends, and then something happens one morning, and their friendship is thrown into peril. I could go on about all the films. I'll just tell about one or two more. The Age of Love, which is one of our opening night films, and it's a delightful documentary. Humorous and poignant. At the same time, 30 older adults who sign up for a speed dating event exclusively for 70 to 90-year-olds.
That's
and
great.
Here it is. They're seeking another chance at love.
Right.
And I totally recommend the fact that we're still out there. We have a life, and let's make the most of it. So we also have some films that have to do with Alzheimer's, and they're beautiful. Mm-hmm. So that's what our efforts are based at, really, at showing people that be excited. Later life can be an adventure if you open yourself up to it. And this year, the Legacy Film Festival on Aging, again in San Francisco. This is our fifth annual, and it'll be September 18th to 20th in San Francisco. But people can go to our website, legacyfilmfestivalonaging.org, to learn more about it. All the films are on there with trailers, and I think people will enjoy seeing that if they can't come to the festival.
Great. So there, if I want to make sure we get the website correct, maybe you have a couple of them, but I'm showing legacyfilmseries.com. Is that correct?
No, well, that's not correct, but it is ours. And
okay.
That's the thing. Legacy Film Series is how I began here. I actually did a film festival before that in Chicago. When I came out to San Francisco in '03, I started the film series because people were looking for films on aging, and I had access to many of them. And those are short films, and I rent those or sell them on that website, legacyfilmseries.com. But the film festival is much more of a major effort at this point because it takes us almost a whole year to find the films that are of longer length and also somewhat more serious films.
Gotcha.
And that website is www.legacyfilmfestivalonaging.org.
Great. So if people are not in the Bay Area, would they be able to rent any of the films? Would they be able to watch any of it online? Are those opportunities available?
Well, at this point, the ones that they can watch are trailers. If they go to either one of those sites, there are trailers. And the Legacy Film Series are films that they can rent either for home use or for organizations. That's what we rent those films to aging organizations who put on their own mini film festivals. And the other thing is that we do programs for assisted living places and libraries with the Legacy Film Series. We will rent, let's say, an hour and a half of films, and if it's in the area, excuse me, I will go and give a presentation and talk with the audience about the films, because that's really important. And we do that in the festival as well. We have 8 programs this year, and each program is about 90 minutes of film and then another 30 minutes of discussion with the audience, which is led by experts. Mm-hmm. For instance, we have a program on generations, and they're all intergenerational films, and one of the films is called Old, and the filmmaker will be there to talk about why she made the film and what response there is to that. So in other cases, we have a film called The Farewell Party, and that's a funny story. It's fictional, of a group of friends in a Jerusalem retirement home. It's an Israeli film. They decide to help their terminally ill friend. And it's funny, actually, and also very compassionate. And what happens when rumors of their assistance begin to spread, more and more people are asking for their help. And so the friends are faced with actually a life and death dilemma from their success. But those are the kind of films that we will be showing. But at this point, we've just started thinking about doing a traveling Legacy Film Festival on aging. But it sounds like a lot of work and a lot more people would have to be involved in putting that together.
Right.
We seem to be getting more popular, I have to say, this year. And last year was kind of amazed me because I didn't know what to expect, how many people are coming, and opening night was sold out. And I was pleasantly shocked by that. And we also have evaluations that people fill out, and I'll just read a couple of them because I have it right here. One person said, made me want to live until 90. And another said, a privilege to watch. And another, can't wait until next year, more.
That's great.
So, yes, it seems like there's becoming a groundswell. And I think part of it is we're getting older. People, even Hollywood's getting into it. I bet you've seen some of the films that they've put out with older people. And the new film with Lily Tomlin called Grandma is just gotten rave reviews.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see that. And what I tell people is aging is in.
Hey, there we go. There we go. So, I mean, you're doing tremendous work, all right, to help, educate people and entertain people, as you said. How do we, as a country, as a world, I mean, just, those that look at older people in a negative light, unfortunately, some do. How do we change that? I mean, what do we have to do as a society?
Well, I think the films and a film festival certainly is one way. I think we older people have to have a responsibility also. We need to integrate ourselves more into society and not just go to our senior centers, which are great and fabulous because it's so much fun to be with other people, not be isolated, be active. But we have to open ourselves up, and I think I know a lot of older people who are retired now, and they're looking for things to do, and some of them are being mentors or tutors to younger people who need help with reading and other kinds of activities. There are ways that we have to show that we care, and we can't just focus on ourselves. I think that's really important as well. And I think we have to keep the media informed, because I remember years ago seeing an ad in the newspaper for Mother's Day, and it had a young mother. And I thought to myself, what about the older mothers? Mm-hmm. They never have a picture of an older grandma or a boomer parent, so that these are things that we have to stay aware of and lobby for, actually. Right. I think there's a little more on TV now. In the 90s, there was research done that showed that there was a very small percentage of older people on TV shows or situation comedies. And again, they were sort of the old stereotypes of grouches or frailty. And the ads for older people were always about wheelchairs or things of that nature. Well, I love to go to those stores where they have the assisted devices, because you can find some fun things that you might like to use. But the pictures have to be much more vibrant. We only have this one life, as far as we know, mm-hmm. and we really have to make the most of it. And there, as I said, will be some losses, some serious losses, even physically. I started wearing glasses when I was 50, and now I've got a hearing aid, which I don't need all the time. They say to wear it all the time, but mm-hmm. I'm not doing that, not wearing it now.
Right.
But it's an adjustment. Exactly. And when I went for my hearing test and the person said, yes, you need a hearing aid, I actually started crying. I think because I didn't picture myself like that. But we adjust. That's the great thing about human beings.
But don't you think even, not that appearance is the whole thing, but I look back at pictures of my grandmother and grandparents, and I would talk to, unfortunately my parents aren't around anymore, but I would talk to my brother and say, how old was grandma in this picture? And they'd say, well, they were 68 or something. But I'm looking at that picture, and to me, that she looked a lot older than that. I mean, don't you see that as well when you look back at pictures? I mean, I think people, feel younger today. I believe overall they look younger today. Even naturally, they look younger. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think, I have a master's in public health and one in psychology as well. But I thought public health has done such a great job of telling people, get out there.
Right.
Take a walk, 30 minutes a day. You're going to feel so much better. And I meet people who are pre-diabetic or diabetic, not childhood diabetes, but type 2.
Right.
And some of them are very heavy. And they said, I need to do something. And I said, just put on a comfortable pair of shoes and go for a walk around the block. Don't try to do something, really big to start with. But you will feel so much better. Don't you, Frank, when you go outside and you walk, I hope you do that.
I do, yeah. I do, and I do feel better. I feel better after I exercise, but I try to make just my day, not that I have to go out specially to exercise. It just should be part of life. I recently got a stand-up desk. So
I need that.
Yeah, so I stand up when I'm, working as much as I can and try to walk around and have a phone, because I'm on the phone a lot, and have a phone that's, I don't need a cord, and I walk around when I talk. So I just try to make it part of my day as well. Not necessarily have to, even though I do go out specifically to exercise, I think it's got to be something that's done all day long, and some...
I think so, and I know for me that I try to make it something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And here, living in San Francisco, what to me is wonderful is we have lots of hills.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
So I try to climb some of those hills, walk up and down the hills, and try to stay as strong as I can that way.
Well, Sheila, I mean, I could talk to you all day long, but unfortunately we're out of time. But love to have you back in the future. Get in touch with us. Let us know how the film festival went. You could check out the website at Legacy Film Festival on aging.org. Sheila Malkind, thank you so much for joining us on the Aging Boomers. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right, everybody, thank you for joining us, and thanks for all your support. So many of you have gone on to iTunes, iHeartRadio, on our website, and many of you, of course, have downloaded the free app on your iPhone or Android phone to keep up on all of our guests and great information. So thank you for that, and just be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all soon.